Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for watching on the Town with Tanya, and we're here with Richard Adamson II as well today. And we're with a great musician today. Today's guest is a musician whose band has referred to themselves as the world's most dangerous band. They are known for their rhythmic and soulful, social conscious music. Please welcome David Jonathan. Hey.
Peace,
Hi.
peace. Amani Nawanga.
How are you?
Peace of light.
Yes,
Peace of
sir.
light.
Thank you. How are you? Thank you so much.
I'm well. I'm well. Coming off of a concert from last night for a
Yes.
jazz festival. Very, very,
Mhm.
very good show.
Yeah, how'd that go? That was where was that at?
So that was in Fredonia, New York, at the Fredonia Jazz Festival, right on the campus of Fredonia, which is a music college or school
Wow.
for up and coming aspiring musicians, artists, and cinematic, animation, you name it, they do everything there.
Wow. So wait, how'd you get that gig? Your band's known to fish around and see where you can land.
Well, that's funny. Sometimes they'll come find you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan for that gig. Someone messaged me that is the president of the Fredonia Jazz Society, and he says, "Is this David Jonathan of David Jonathan Inner City Bedlam?" I said, "Yeah," and he says, "I was referred your band to be a part of the jazz festival." He said, "I listened to your music. I think you guys are amazing. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Interesting." There's a backstory to that too, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations. I'm glad the whole performance went well. And so you how did you get into music? How'd you start getting into music?
Oh man, I come from a musical family, and I've been playing drums since I was 4 years old.
Wow.
So it just my father and my mother, we didn't have uh, most families have some kind of entertainment system in their living room, like a TV, a big TV. We didn't have a big TV. My dad had a complete sound stereo system, 6 speakers, record player, everything. And so literally my whole childhood, music would come out of our house every day, 7 days a week for years.
How inspiring. How inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And how'd you get the band together?
Say again?
How'd you get the band together?
Oh, well, getting the band together was I had a couple of, I was trying to feel my way through, what I really wanted to talk about and what I really wanted to say. And due to my interaction with law enforcement back in 2019, I changed the messaging of where I was coming from, because I realized that what's going on in our world and our society from then and as well up to now needed to be spoken to. And I always looked at it as if it's 150 years after we all pass, somebody's going to look back and say, well, what did the messengers say about January 6th? What did the messengers say about racism? All these things that are going on. And I said, I know it's not popular. I know it's not going to land me on the top Billboard 100, but I feel better about making music that means something.
Right.
Going through what you went through with the law enforcement, you care to elaborate on that? Because in listening to your music, I've listened to a lot of your music, Brother David. And by
Thank
the
you,
way,
man.
I want to say Harambe, my brother, Harambe.
Hey, let's go.
But I listen to a lot. Yeah, I listen to a lot of your music, and I can hear your experience.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that drew me to your message, because I strongly believe that musicians are messengers, good or bad,
Right.
And so, I wanted to ask if you cared to elaborate on that, because I could hear experience in your music, and it kind of makes you say, man, I want to have a conversation with this brother. I want to talk to this brother. So if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, I feel like this story needs to be talked about. So the more I talk about it, the more I'm healed from it. And last night was a part of that healing as well. And this is where I said that we'll explain the story. So in 2018, I was touring up and down the East Coast with a popular, pretty popular blues artist, and we were playing all from Maine all the way down 95 to Florida, and I love those guys, but I noticed that the places that we went to play the blues, there was a tremendous amount of confusion for me because, you go into an amphitheater or a place you're playing 20,000 people, and, blues music is one of the very culture roots music of Black people and brown people. We sang it out of pain, and I would go to these concerts and look out into the audience, and 95% of the crowd was white. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the way I was seeing blues music presented, the way I was seeing blues music performed with other artists within, it made me see that there was it made it almost look like white people, for lack of a better term, were, almost like blues was their music. And I just couldn't settle that because I knew better. My grandfather was a blues pianist. He loved very much listening to B.B. King and, Howlin' Wolf and all these different, people. We can just go down the list. And long story short, I started to come away from that group because I also saw Confederate flags at those concerts. And that furthermore my confusion. And then one day we're in Chicago for a blues concert that or a blues festival that B.B. King's daughter was actually putting on. And she wanted to take a picture of me, and I said, I said I couldn't help but to notice. I said, well, there's probably 50 Black people here in the audience out of 20,000 people, and I mean, it's like they're peppered in. And she said, yeah, that's true. And she says, so my question is, what are you going to do about it? And I was like, whoa. And that's literally, mind you, never met this woman. This is B.B. King's daughter, for God's sake. She's royalty. She said that to me. So when I came home, I started doing cover tunes under Inner City Bedlam's name, but I was doing more like the optimistic, you can win as long as you keep, Curtis Mayfield, Donny Hathaway covers, darkness of light with the moon shining bright. Like I wanted to bring back those old jams. And then one day I did Gil Scott Heron, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. And I got kicked out of, I got banned from this venue that was literally a stone's throw from my mother's old neighborhood in the projects, because they gentrified that neighborhood. And so all these things were building. And then the thing that put me over the edge to create this band in this manner was I'm coming back from an area near where I had the jazz festival last night, right off the same highway, about 5 miles down the road. I'm coming back late night from doing a casino gig with that old band I used to play with. And I get pulled over by the police late night. Now, at this time I had a red Cherokee, and I had some light tints, all within legal standard. Nothing in the car illegal, nothing like that. It's 3:30 in the morning, and they asked me to step out the car. He asked me that, I'm pretty much, I look like a drug dealer coming through a rural community in the middle of the night. And what are you doing here, Black guy, at 3:30 in the morning? And after they saw how big I was when they asked me out the car, big guy, tall, I think that's when they, immediately, I'm bigger than both of these dudes, and it's like, okay, this we would have our hands full with this, and put me, all of a sudden everything became nervous. Put your hands on the hood, and it became more aggressive and just started to rise. And I'm still being as calm as you're hearing me talk to you right now, as calm as I was talking. Yes, sir, I'm complying. And he had put his knee between my legs as my hands are on my truck, to to see if if I had anything, you got any needles in the stick, me, blah 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 blah. We were going through all this I'm like, no, sir, I don't. And I try to readjust myself, just because I'm standing in an awkward position. And he literally said, "What are you doing? Don't move." I said, "Don't move." And next thing you know, I'm on the ground face first, nose bloody, mouth bloody. And they're handcuffing me behind my back and asking me not to resist. I was very confused because, if anybody wasn't resisting, it would be me. Anybody could tell you that knows me, will tell you that. And, that event, and then another car pulled up and I couldn't see where they pulled up. I just know it was like near my right side. And it was another set of officers. And, I'm sitting here handcuffed on the ground and they're tearing up my truck. I mean, they're going through my truck, trying to see if I have drugs. They ripped off the panel of my dashboard. They ripped out the back portion of the plastic part where if you are in the back seat, you want to kick somebody's seat in the front of you. They ripped off my panel, looking for all the, trying to see if they could find anything on me. Nothing. And I told them, from the ground, I told you there ain't nothing to find. Well, that doesn't explain where you're coming from. I'm like, well, I don't have drums in the car because the place I was playing at already had a backline drum set. But they, instead of hearing any of that, so then they realize, I hear the guy says, well, we ain't got nothing on this dude. I hear him talking, but I just stay down there and stay still. They uncuff me and he tells me to spread my hands out. And I have my hands spread out and he says, now don't move. And literally my head's on the ground. So I can't, I can't see peripheral, and then from that point, I hear the car slam door and pull off. The other car slam and pull off. Now I'm in the middle of a rural town hearing crickets, and I'm scared to get up because I'm worried if I'm gonna turn into a hashtag myself. That was one of 4 other incidents, and the reason they initially pulled me over was for a license plate nightlight. And I cover that in the song White Privilege on 400, pulled over 5 times in 5 nights over license plate nightlights, put on the ground in the Southtown. Yeah. So, once that happened and I cleaned myself up, it was like, do I go to the media? Do I, this is not even reported. There's nothing, I can't even prove this happened, but it happened. And it's not the first time it's happened in the group of my friends or my people. But once again, the news media only cover what they talk about. So I said, okay, I have to rethink about what I'm doing here. No more covers. I quit all the bands I was playing in. Everybody thought I was losing my mind. Like, oh no, you're committing career suicide. You'll never play in this town again. And then I had, like I said, for lack of a better word, peed off to people who I did Gil Scott Heron with. Now I'm labeled as being controversial just because, and them people that went to those people did that because they felt like, I'm not speaking truth, and I'm using music as a weapon. So as it stands now, yes, I am using music as a weapon now because
I was getting ready to say, what's wrong with that?
Exactly. Right. Isn't that what all art is about? All forms. If I write a film, usually it's not, some people write garbage or just whatever, but usually it's because there's something that I want to bring to the forefront. Right. If I sing a song, it's because my soul thinks that song needs to be sung. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Right. I don't feel like, and I've had this situation. I don't feel like I should have to tuck in my Black Lives Matter shirt. But why am I being made to feel like I should when I step out into a place because you giving me the smack of teeth because you don't agree with what I'm saying. So now, do I just say, forget it, or do I write a song about it?
I would say write a song about it. You know why? Because you know why I say that? Because what doesn't make sense to me, and I thank you so much for sharing your story, because what doesn't make sense to me is that you asked us tuck in a Black Lives Matter shirt, which is not hate speech, but if there's songs calling black women hoes, nobody says nothing.
Exactly. Thank you.
Me and my manager, we just had this discussion about how the N-word is monopolized and monetized to be just something underneath, the party and BS, as we'll fund that all day because they know they're going to get clicks, streams, everything else. They suck the artist dry in the industry as it is. It's hard to make a buck as it is to sell. Nobody digests music the way they used to anymore. So because of that, when you see what they're giving us on streaming, they just want to profit off of the culture of which we've inspired every genre, whether you like it or not.
Right.
You know, and you know, it should never be that. It should be, okay, I can appreciate everybody's unique perspective to the conversation. Right. But unfortunately, that's not what we got.
No. Well, you hit on a lot of prevalent things. I'm sorry that happened to you. That also happened to me as well. I actually beat up literally me. And that's when I was like a size 6 at that. So I was like, I was like, what? And with a pair of leggings on. So there's nothing that you can tell I don't have a gun. But it's because one lady screamed through a bulletproof glass. That's why. So it's a long story short, but I totally feel you. And I know the exact feeling you felt when that was happening, because I felt like literally I was beaten like a runaway slave, and I felt like one. I literally went back to the ancestors for that moment and said, oh my God, is this what they had to endure? How horrible is this? Like I mean, it mind boggles me to this day. So I feel bad that you still went through that, because mine was about, I don't know, 13 years ago. I don't know. It's been a long time. And so I can't imagine right now someone having that happen last year, someone having that happen, you know, Rodney King and all them. Those are just little microcosms of whatever. George Floyd microcosm. And when I saw that, I said, that's me. That was me. Only difference. And I was having an asthma attack. Only thing to save my life was one of the cops, which was when I noticed they were cops, because she had a uniform on. She said, oh, we better get her pump, because if they wouldn't have got my pump, I'd be dead. I don't have asthma at that time. I'd be dead, because they were right. And for nothing, when I tell you for nothing, I've never committed a crime. In fact, I help criminals decriminalize. It's like, of all people, I just spoke with a senator on with something else on national television. Do you think he would have a criminal or a cop leader speaking with him? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things that you just have to use your common sense. And when I told the guy, I said, run my prints, what's going to come up is Mother Teresa. And they laughed. They said, yeah, right. They all say that. I said, I'm just telling you. And then when he ran him, I heard him to the wall saying, holy shoot, she's right. She's like, she's helped all these kids and did it. I was like, I told you, you wasted your whole time and you gave me a beating for nothing. Yeah. So
and I wish this was like not a regular point of conversation, because, you know, it's too close to me. My cousin, rest in peace. He had schizophrenia, diagnosed schizophrenic. And sometimes if he had some episodes, you know, he was having a mental health crisis, but not a criminal crisis. Right. And he was having a mental health crisis, and they arrested him, denied him his meds, and he had a heart attack in custody.
Jesus.
You know, we don't know what else they did to him. I have one of my best friends had passed away about maybe 10 years. Well, not 10 years now, but maybe 6 years ago. He was coming into knowledge of himself and was really just changing his life around and everything, and really was doing just a phenomenal. One of my best friends. We had so many great conversations. Somebody falsely called the police on him about something that was completely untrue, and they arrested him and denied him his albuterol. Passed away in police custody. You know, and nobody's winning any suits after the fact. No civil suits. You know, there's no Benjamin Crump coming to these events. It's too many. It's too many to count.
It is. And that you never even hear of.
Right.
That's the sad part. But I mean, it's just crazy. But I think music is one way of getting all that out, and also helping other people who may have gone through the same thing and think they're the only ones.
Absolutely.
So I would like to play a clip, actually, and then if you have a question, but I would like to play a clip just so they can have an idea of why you're noted as controversial. So you don't mind if I play a clip, do you?
Please go for it.
All right, guys, hang out for 1 second.
Yep. Fair use.
And present. Let's see if I can get this right. Share my screen or video. Share my screen. No. Yeah. Is that right? Oh, God. I hope they did that right. Let's pray. Here it is. Okay. Okay. I got it right. Yay. Tanya scores. She wins. All right. Here we go.
Something's going wrong
They're staging a coup with the Capitol building, pass it down. Something's going wrong. They're standing outside and they're swinging their bats and guns. I thought you knew. I thought you knew. Because it's true. Because it's true. Something's going wrong. Yeah.
Wow.
Agent Orange the Cool. Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
stuff. Great stuff.
Great
wow.
song.
Yeah, I'd like to hear.
And I like Collusion.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear the whole piece of that. I like the melodies of it and everything. It's just, yeah, nice. Your band is amazing. Amazing. Horns, everything. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But Rich, go ahead. If you wanted to ask something, I'm sorry. Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, no, I just wanted to say, one of the other songs I liked was Collusion, but I may listening to your testimony, Dave, and I knew about Tanya's situation, and I knew you were going to learn about that when we did the show. So that's why I didn't mention it, because I wanted Tanya to share it. But just as a Black human being who embraces all art, that's why I sent you that clip of the Doobie Brothers the other day, because your band somewhat reminds me of them.
Yeah.
But I'm a former not former, but I'm an abstract artist, and I embrace all art. But the color of my skin, people don't know what we go through. Like when I leave my house, I have to work. My father was shot by the police twice in his chest. It's just the prayers of my grandmother. He didn't die. 2 other gentlemen were just recently killed in my city by the police. One about 4 years ago, another one about a couple of months ago. And my music, when I was doing hip hop, it came from pain, because people don't understand that whether people compare where you come from, this hood, and you come from Buffalo. I mean, that's as real as it gets. But
it's real, bro.
Yeah, but no matter where you come from, your skin color is what it is. And I know for me, there's so many things I have to be worried about. Being killed by the police, being killed by somebody that looks like me, being falsely accused of something which has happened to me before. And because of what you look like, people all automatically think, oh, he must be guilty, or he must have did it. He must have beat that person up. He must have, And so your music speaks to a very real element that's in our world.
Right.
And I think that sometimes that creates fear.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you have music that good, but that truthful,
right.
I just think that it does something to the atmosphere. I know that I had a song where I made a statement in that song, and I said, my emotions is real when I'm rocking the mic with real life. Sometimes I cry when I write.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, when you're writing, what happens?
Man, Rich bringing that heat.
Sorry, yeah, when I was an MC,
Yeah,
I think I go through a myriad of emotions. I'm a weirdo because my whole life I've always had a vivid imagination. My mom, once again I grew up in a house with a stereo system every day of my existence until the point that I moved out of my home to go be a man in life. So I've always looked at art and music in a way because I need to feel something, or if I'm going to write, I need to feel from that place. So I've had like when I wrote Simple Love Song, that made me smile because to encourage Black love is something I think Black men and Black women are put against each other.
Yes.
And it's no different than the Willie Lynch, kind of systemic mindset that wants to make the black woman to be angry and the black man to be, ain't you know what, and vice versa. So we never come on a one accord to unify. And so Simple Love Song for me was to bring that unity back. That in this struggle of life that we're living together, in this existence that only you and I understand because we look alike, that we should have common ground to understand each other and hear each other. We should have therapy, whereas writing a song like Agent Orange, or even writing a song like I'm Going Home in the Morning Train,
Love that one.
It was almost similar to how Wade in the Water, it's giving instructions on what's happening as well, not just the song to talk about, but Morning Train is almost like talking about return to the motherland. Since you want us to go back to Africa, why not? And for a lot of people, that's a long conversation, right? Because what does that look like now? Right.
Sorry.
What does it? No, you're right. What does it look like to people who have never touched there? So that might make me cry. That might make me imagine what it would be like to be elsewhere. Fantasize, and it's like what only thing you're left to do is to fantasize at times, because some of these things you're not able to put action to because of shaking the boat too crazy and recklessly makes people react in a certain way. So I've had to cry, I've had to smile, I've laughed, I've done some more crying.
Right.
I've been furious at times, and it makes me. It continues to put the battery in my back to keep making music like this.
It must be very empowering to make music that speaks to other people's, not just your soul, but to other people's soul. Because I think that's what your gift is about, is inspiring or encouraging or uplifting somebody in some way, whether it's a piece of art, whether it's a song, whether it's a beautiful piece of woodwork. I mean, whatever medium we use, it's very crucial. And I'm hoping, that's why I'm going for the SAG and the writer strike and all that stuff, because we can't let all this technology get in the way of real. Like, I like a live band. That's what I love about your band, that you guys actually play instruments and you're not programming. So you could do that too, and it's okay because you're talented and you really have the skill of the other. Then I would take it from you. But if you just come in like with this electric technical and you have never played an instrument, I have a little bit of problem with that.
No, I feel you. So I was a beat maker first, right? And I would make beats. I was a producer making all these tracks, and I would literally give CDs of beats out my back window in my old neighborhood, or when I would go to New York City, get off of Port Authority, I'm downtown. And everybody got their beat CD. Yo, fam, come check out my yo. You gotta listen to this. This is the hot stuff, And I was trying to do that and just give out instrumentals. But then I noticed that there was a change in the early 2000s where everybody was doing the same music. Nobody was collectively sampling, like, at least to my knowledge. They already got lazy. And I said, well, I'm gonna flip it into this live music thing, because if I can make you feel like it's a movie.
Right.
Like when you look at the when you watch any movie at the theater and dun 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 dun, they got the clouds coming out, and like you like, whoa, you take a deep breath, and that's all honestly a psychological trick that they get you ready for the movie.
Yeah.
So if you would take that and apply it to music itself, and care about the nuance about the flute coming in at this certain special part, now you like, man, that feel like some good food right there. You feel me?
Yeah, but you know what you just mentioned, that's science. There's a science to art.
Absolutely.
And we must be family, because me and Tanya laugh about this all the time, because me and Tanya know we're different. You know what I'm saying? Me and Tanya is different. I've been considered weird, you know what I mean? But I always embraced it, because see, as a black man, I don't want to be afraid to be different.
Right.
Because then I can't embrace myself. But the science behind music is how to tap into different parts of the brain. There's a lot of movies that I used to watch and I used to sample from, simply because of the music. Like, you might laugh at this, but I was a sci-fi fanatic, right? I remember there was a scene in the original Godzilla where they were using the radars in the submarines and the helicopters to seek him out where he was at. And the trumpets and the strings that they use, I actually took that and I put it in the song.
That's fire.
I took a sample from Black Belt Jones and I put it in the song.
Yeah.
So one of the things that very few people, and I wanted to ask you about that, because I could see that spiritually you're a free Black man, just by the way you dress, just by the way you talk, just by embracing you.
Thank you, man.
One of the things I went through, Tanya and only a handful of others were the only people that were able to accept me for who I was. Mm-hmm. As far as being an abstract artist and being a Black man who expresses himself and still be masculine. Right. I had a hard time with that as an artist. A lot of people did not want to sign me or give me the time of day. In fact, Tanya was the first one to give me an interview, because a lot of my music was about expressing, like the song that I sent you, The Valley.
Yes, sir.
Rise, Head to the Sky, was about pain, but it was about real emotions. And they were like, how could you be a Black man, 6 foot tall, wanting to express yourself? But I grew up with that. I grew up with people wanting me to be quiet because I was a Black male. And I wanted to ask you, from one artist to another, because Tanya and I have had many talks about this. What was it like for you because I would consider you an abstract artist, but at the same time, realism too.
Right.
What was it like being as unique as you are as a man? How did that impact you with the opposite sex? How did that impact you with the world? How did that impact you just with your surroundings?
Oh man, God, Rich, you God.
You really bringing
I should have told you all go to church. That's church coming out of me. I'm sorry. I didn't tell you that.
Rich, you good at that, man. Okay. So, and that nobody's ever asked me that. Nobody's ever asked me that.
Welcome to On the Town with Tanya.
Yo, do a drop right there.
But I'm sorry.
Asked me that. My childhood was very interesting because I grew up the first 5 years of my life in the Kenfield Langfield projects, and that's on the east side of Buffalo. I have memories of living in those bricks. I would call it the brick prison, because when you came into Kenfield Langfield, Langfield was considered to be the better looking projects. You feel me? And Kenfield was the bricks, So, I came up, I remember seeing things all the way till I was 5. My mom would always try to keep me from staying on the stoop because, you could catch a stray bullet on the stoop. Mind your business. Once we moved over to my mom was working for a hospital and was making it. My dad was retiring, and so they put their money together and moved to another section of town where honestly we were only one of 3 Black families, and it seemed to be a more affluent. But within 2 years' time, crack came through that neighborhood and destroyed it. But my dad was adamant about not moving, because this is now something that has his name, is his first property he's ever owned. He don't want to abandon his home because the neighborhood's getting bad. He just figured, if I protect what's mine, then we stand here at this house. We brought this house. We stand. And school was a stone's throw for me, but even though school was a short distance, it was the scariest short distance walk I would take. Because mind you, my mom would get me up in the morning for school and she would recite affirmations to me. She would be like, okay, stand up straight. All right, you got your book bag, you got your this, okay. And she'd be like, you're a beautiful Black man. Repeat after me. And I'll say, yeah, I'm a beautiful Black man. And you got to turn the world upside down. I'll be like, I'm going to turn the world upside down. And she'd give me this speech, man. And I go out and get beat up headed to school, bro. You get
I
up,
could identify.
run your lunch money. You know, I didn't fit in, you know, because I was this whimsical kid that, you know, people would punch me in the face because I was articulate and my parents would teach me better words so that, you know, somebody might say, man, man, you know the word I'm trying to say, and I don't even know. And I said, and I would say something crazy like, you know, oh, you mean that you weren't audibly transmitting?
Right.
Mhm.
They're like, what?
Audibly, man, give me your money, man. Give me your money. So
Right.
Right.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand yet,
Mhm.
you know. And once I started fighting back, it was the worst and best day of my life because I fought back because I had to. You know, my dad wasn't going to always be able to walk me to school. You know, I couldn't depend on the neighbor on the stoop down the street
Mhm.
on their porch
Mhm.
to look out for me because they looking out for their other kid. Because once they saw their other kid got to school, they going inside.
Right.
And them boys might be waiting. So either I'm gonna have to fight and figure this thing out, or I'm gonna keep getting sunned. So I started fighting back, but then that fight led to anger.
Right.
And because I had to do it, but it led to some respect. And so I started believing that the only way I'm gonna get respect is by knuckling up every time. I became good at fighting.
So glad you said. Mhm.
Right.
I'm so glad.
I became
Sorry,
good at it.
I'm so glad you said that because a lot of people, you know, me and Tanya were colleagues in the substance abuse counseling field, and we encountered a lot of people. You know, I worked in the jail system and a lot of homes and therapeutic communities, and a lot of people just assume that Black men want to be gangsters and want to be tough, but they don't understand that we're taught that if we express our emotions, we're considered weak and can even be targeted, right?
Right.
So there's another message that we're given, that we have to be tough, we have to be violent, we have to be, you know, and we can't show a sign of weakness. So I'm glad that you're talking about this.
And see, once again, these are things that are not more talked about. And to be honest with you, it's what led me eventually into street life activity. Because it was that area became engrossed with it. Everybody did it. Everybody in my class, my graduating class in grade school, like I'll say 80% of my class is alive or dead. Excuse me. 20% are probably left from the old neighborhood that are not either in jail or or in the ground.
Yeah, see, that's so hard. I mean, all the more the better to write songs with for later. But while you're in the height of it as a kid, how traumatized. I was the one who used to beat up bullies. I didn't like bullies. It's like, oh, really? You're gonna do that to my friend? Try doing it to me. So I'm that person. But and that's because I was an angry little foster kid. That's why. So it wasn't because I was a Black girl, it was because I was a foster kid. But I just always felt like, I don't know. If I know I'm living in a bad neighborhood, and I did when I moved to Brooklyn, and when it got bad and I started hearing shootouts, and my kids started ducking, and every time she heard gunfire, I was like, this is not normal. So I left. I left and moved back and moved to the suburbs because I was like, I ain't doing this. Now some people crucify me for it, saying, "Why are you going to leave?" I am not stupid. I'm not staying anywhere. I don't care what color the area is that has gunfire or that has anything that my daughter should not have a normal response to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So people are gawking at her and trying to touch her. I'm not letting her go to that school. There's no way. It's never going to happen. So I knew I wasn't going to put my kids on a bus to go, girls to go to school by themselves in the city. You must be crazy. So that's me as a parent. I always tell parents, I don't care how broke you are. If you have kids, especially today, if I had an African-American boy, you better believe there's no way. Certain places I would never live. And there's certain things we just ain't doing because I need to give him a chance, like every other kid has a chance.
Right.
And so I know sometimes you can't, like you said, your dad bought his home.
I have both my parents.
I know.
So that goes to show you sometimes it don't even matter. That doesn't matter. What's around you is going to affect, if I'm at school for 7 to 8 hours out of the day, both my parents are working.
Yes.
I'm a latchkey kid. You feel me? At 8 years old.
Yeah.
So, I'm facing responsibilities that most kids wouldn't have to do, but my parents had to because My mom's working. My dad is busting his butt. You know, so even regardless of having two parents, I still got into trouble later, especially my teenage years, because of the environment I lived in.
Right. That's a very
Did
important.
music save you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, people say that, but I feel like that's really cliche. You know, like, you know, I have so many memories tied around my whole upbringing of my dad sometimes would he had a vinyl, I still have it. He has a vinyl of Martin Luther King's speech, I Have a Dream. And sometimes he would play it and he'd cry. And I didn't understand why. You know, I knew Dad cried because Martin Luther King is not here. But I didn't know he cried because, you know, he understand. My father was an older man. He was born in 1924 in Arkansas.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Now, well, and before that, he was in Trinidad and Tobago with my father, or my grandfather, excuse me. So my grandfather was angry because of having to flee a situation, to come to the States, have his kids in Arkansas, you know, farming. My dad had to come out of school at 3rd grade, you know, so his education stopped there. You know, he couldn't finish on it, just wasn't for him to do. So when we're talking about, you know, 1924 coming up in the Jim Crow South, you know, at the heart of segregation, at the heart of, you know, I have another song coming out called Stay Low, where, you know, he was telling me, him and my grandfather would tell me about times they had to get off the side of the road at nighttime when they saw lights coming down the street, because they knew that they were coming to hurt them because they were of the color of the skin. You know, so stay low, you know, stay low to stay alive.
It's crazy. You know, I can't believe the time it is already, guys. And I have so many more questions. Rich, do you want to have another question? Did we just freeze?
I think you're frozen.
I'm frozen. That's not good. That's not a good sign. So you can see me. Everything's fine?
Yeah, you're just stuck in this pose, like.
I'm stuck in the abyss of, I don't know. This has never happened.
That would make a great album cover. That would make a great album cover.
I'm scared to see what it looks like.
Because you're doing your thing.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why we're stuck. But, so ask another question, Rich, if you like. I wanted to ask about the 400 album now, because that's what we were.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Ask him about that, because I want to hear about it.
Ask, how did you come about with this album, and who's on it? Anybody know?
So 400, that's once again, 400 is probably the most gritty work I have to date, because 400 is a gut punch, you know, just by the titles alone, you know, White Privilege, No Reparations, Ode to Despair. It's kind of, and in the beginning it's kind of like the overture, you know, where you're hearing, you know, these news clips and things that I did sample for, you know, trying to paint the picture of what's going on since the Watts riots all the way up to, you know, the 1994 crime bill, and all these things that kind of changed the course of direction for Black and brown people, even unto this day. 400 took me 5 or 6 year odyssey to write, because I wanted to make sure I got it right. And if I was going to put something out, I had already been working on ideas, but then it's like when all those things happened to me in 2019, it pushed me, it gave me that push to go ahead and get this thing expedited, expeditiously, as T.I. would say, to get it done, because it's just necessary. That work had to breathe. 400, of course, is cataloging the 400-year anniversary of the transatlantic slave trade and all the different various forms of music genre that came over on those boats. You know, so that's your Zydeco. That's, you know, that's where Crawfish and Jambalaya is. That's your blues. That's your, you know, Morning Train. That's a blues. Simple Love Song. That's the R&B. You know, we got straight ahead jazz in there. We have kind of like a avant-garde jazz in there as well. So sampling comes from hip hop. You know, then we do have hip hop at the end in a conscious manner. So
Yeah.
400 kind of came out of those things. The players on that
Yeah.
album are all Buffalo born and bred players, except for a Simple Love Song. I had a producer friend of mine named Tony Castillo out of Florida and Orlando. We worked and did some stuff together to make that happen, but everybody else were Buffalo born and raised.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Listen, I'm a big fan of Buffalo. Shout out to Young Pharaoh.
Hey, Young Pharaoh, what's up, boy?
You know, yes. There's a lot of great stories that come out of Buffalo. I'm looking for, TV to do like a show, like they did for The Wire, like they did on for that show The
Do it out of
Corner and
Buffalo.
stuff like that. Do it out of Buffalo because there's really a lot of struggle that needs to be talked about. And even in the suburbs, I tell people all hoods are not in the boroughs and in the city. Like,
No.
you got places like Mount Vernon, Yonkers, White Plains,
Oh, yeah.
show that. But they have their areas,
Nyack.
the family members that I know. Yeah, they have their areas, and the mistake that we as people make is we compare. But I love your open-mindedness to music because the group, The Impressions, Curtis Mayfield.
Yes, sir.
I did a lot of listening to Curtis Mayfield to come up with my music. There's a song that he has called This Must End, but one of my favorite songs by Curtis Mayfield is Darker Than Blue. We people who are darker than blue. Yeah, so we're going to stand around this town and let what others say come true. We're just good for nothing. They all figure. So I've always been on this mission. And that's why when I met you, I was like, wow, where was Dave in the 90s when everybody was condemning me for being a man who expresses himself? The name of our group label was called ESP, Emotional Studio Productions, meaning that everything that we express is real, is what we really feel. It's a fact that you feel. Everything you feel is not a fact, but what we were feeling was what we were really expressing. And so I always had that fight of people saying you're never going to make it, even young ladies that I was dating. And that's why I asked you that question, because me being a black man who was masculine but had a desire to express himself, I always caught hell. I caught hell. Yeah, I caught hell for being the son of. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like we're always asked to prove our masculinity through sex, money, or violence. And then we wonder why we're producing the young men that you see in the streets now. Why is it that somebody would rather join the Crips or the Bloods than go to church or go to college?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because not enough David Jonathans are being promoted. You know what I'm saying? We're not supporting the David Jonathans. We're not supporting the Tanyas. Right. Who doesn't have a podcast about slander and about whose wife is cheating or whose husband is cheating, whose husband is cheating. We're talking about issues that people need to hear.
Yes. And let me tell you, bro.
But
I'm sorry. Bro, I'm sorry. You just touched, you hit a nerve. The other side, they already got plans. They have a sense of unity too when certain things hit the fan. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, and I'm not making this up. If our people don't figure that unity thing out sooner, much more than later, and stop being so many Indian, it shouldn't matter even the religious backgrounds. We should all be able to understand that we look like this, bro.
Right.
So let's put the swords down and let's designate. Let's teach our young people skills that they could take for life instead of just saying, "Oh, we're prepared." Wait till we see the women are going to look like in their 60s that are they are insecure, so they have to get surgery, to look like the next YouTube model. Why?
Yeah.
Why are we doing that?
Yeah. You know what? But we train, not us, but we as a society, we train people to not be themselves. And this leads people to their graves. And that's why when you see artists like yourself, who's not afraid to be themselves and express a message, it's like to me, it's a breath of fresh air. I'm like, man, we need to nurture brothers like that. Because, like I said, I had two parents too. You know what I'm saying? And I grew up in what's considered a suburb. You know what I'm saying? Even though it wasn't a real suburb, but even with both parents, my father, after getting shot by the police and then coming out of jail, he changed his life. He got off drugs and he actually became a preacher. And I was so used to a lot of people trying to create my narrative for me because of where I came from and the religious label. I got beat up just sometimes because I went to church. People throwing rocks at me on the way to church.
That's crazy.
But I wanted to ask before we wrap up. Tanya's still here. She's just having a few technical difficulties. But where can we buy the album? Where can the album be purchased, and where will you be performing next?
Well, so we just got finished with the Fredonia Jazz Festival last night. Once again, shout out to the Jazz Society of Fredonia for putting that together. I ran into the president of the Black Student Union there last night as well, and looks like they're going to have us back in March to do some things there. So that's going to be upcoming. November 11th, we're at Town Ballroom in Buffalo, New York, a big venue for a thing called Fall Ball. And Fall Ball is going to be a big 10 bands on 2 stages. We're going on at 5:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 11th for an hour set. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be in the big room. So, please get your tickets, www.innercitybedlam.com. November 18th, I will be up in Toronto at the Redwood Theater in Toronto, Ontario, opening for another artist up there who I'm not extremely familiar with, but I have listened to some of their music. And hold on, I'm trying to bring up the flyer so I can be professional.
There we go. I'm back.
Oh, it's Tanya. Yes.
Sorry, look at that.
So sorry. I was like, I felt like the Twilight Zone. It's like, I'm here, guys. I'm here. I can
This
hear
is not
you,
a
but I
show
couldn't
without
see
the
you.
black woman. This is not a show.
Right, come on now.
The Black
My
Queen must be
apologies,
here.
guys. I'm so sorry.
I'm just glad you're okay.
Yeah, no, it's the StreamYard. Sometimes they shady like that, but it is what it is. We do what we got to do, right? We don't let nothing stop us from getting the message through. And your band certainly has a message to tell, David. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And you told us where we can get the album.
Oh yeah, so you can also go to the website where the album is located.
Oh, yes,
It's on all streaming platforms, all Apple, Tidal. You could do it on TikTok. We actually have a TikTok challenge coming up soon that we'll be dropping, where if somebody can come up with a clever dance for crawfish and jambalaya, we're gonna give them $100.
Oh,
I could do a rerun. I could do
Hey,
nice.
It's got to be original dance. Has an
right.
original dance. So if crawfish and jambalaya has that flavor, Louisiana in it. We're trying to find second line horn thing.
Actually, I'll end with that.
All right, cool.
When we go out, that's what we'll end out with. Yeah, you think?
And we're headed to Brooklyn. We're headed to Brooklyn as well. We're supposed to be in Brooklyn in May.
Oh, okay. Tanya's hometown. That's what's up.
Brooklyn
my original hometown. Yes.
Yeah.
Brooklyn to Maine. I think we're doing our album release for the next album, and now in New York as well, in Williamsburg.
Oh, Williamsburg.
Right. And that's going to be during Juneteenth. So,
well, that's going to be interesting. You know what that area is like, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But that's going to be interesting anyway. It's very nice. They have good, a lot of fun venues there.
Yeah, I want to get the movers and shakers together.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw Lord there and somewhere in Williamsburg. But nice venues. Very nice. I like the closeness of the musical community, shall I say? So it should be fun. But thank you guys. You guys can check David Jonathan out. You see his website. It was up there. If you have a question, you can always ask me. And we thank you so much for seeing us. I'm sorry I was frozen for the last 10 minutes. I apologize. But Rich, you held it down. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You. I was nervous.
And Richard Jonathan II. Of course, we always appreciate you as well. You're the best co-host ever. And we appreciate you. And David, You're welcome back here anytime.
Yes.
We appreciate you so much. And I'm going to end with that song and then end. So you guys can just hang out in the back for a minute. And guys, I apologize so much. Thank you, viewers, so much for coming back. I appreciate you. And now I'm going to end with this song. Jambalaya, excuse me, crawfish and jambalaya as I choke. Okay, hold on. It's crazy. I don't know. I went from one extreme to the next. Here we go. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Okay. So you just got a little sample of that, guys. That's just a little sample. So think of your crawfish and jambalaya dance and check out TikTok. Check out David Jonathan and Inner City Bedlam. They are the band that you definitely want to eat now. Yes. I know. Make me hungry. You know, my mama's family's from Louisiana, so when I hear crawfish, I'm like, crawfish where?
Yeah.
And I was when he was singing that, I was thinking about you, Tony, because I know you got family in Louisiana. So I was like, crawfish in my mind.
You make me hungry. Every time I hear it, I'm like, really? I don't want some seafood. But thank you, David. You're the best.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you so much. And thank you for your gift of music. You are
thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to get the album. Just give me time, and I will get it because I'm over here. So I gotta do things.
I know. But I got you.
Thank you for being you, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
And we'll teach you soon. Hang out for 1 minute, guys. Thank you, guys, to my viewers. We'll talk to you next week. We'll have performing artist Levi. Lives next week, the 29th. Is that the 29th? I believe that's who it is. I got to see the dates. But tune in anyway, Sunday, 4:00. We'll see you then, guys. 1 second. Of course, I got to get better at queuing things. Here we go.